What's up, guys? So some news dropped today that got the community rightfully confused and very worried about the future of FromSoftware as a developer and a company. It's been reported today by basically everybody that Sony and Tencent both now own a collective total of about 30% of FromSoftware right now. Currently, Sony owns 14.09% and Tencent is sitting at 16.25% respectively. So, should we be worried? Well, in this video, I'm going to explain to you all the possible futures of what this could mean, and it's not all bad, well, kind of. And before I begin, if you like the video, consider subscribing and sharing it to give my life meaning, and hit the bell to be notified of future uploads. Sony is likely kicking themselves hard for fumbling FromSoftware back in the early 2000s when they could have acquired the company for next to nothing when they released Demon's Souls to poor sales in Japan. And because of this performance, Sony opted out on promoting Demon's Souls in Western markets, where the game broke 1 million in sales and received universal acclaim, which led to the rise of FromSoftware as we know today. Well, with this recent news, what it basically means is that Sony and Tencent are sort of in a bidding war for ownership of FromSoftware, kind of. See, the owners of FromSoftware, as of now anyway, are a Japanese company called Kadakawa Corporation, who owns 69.66% of the company as of the making of this video. According to these massive injections of capital by the two big rival companies, it's to allow FromSoftware to invest in developing new intellectual properties as they further the development and expand their portfolio going forward. Games like Sekiro, for example, were largely funded by Activision. That's why Sekiro is an Activision published title, which seems weird considering Activision is known for things like Call of Duty and employees drinking other employees' breast milk. Yeah, that company is weird, but it's better if we just read a section from the press to fully understand it. Quote, "Through the implementation of the fund procurement, FromSoftware will aim to proactively invest in development of more powerful IP for itself to strengthen FromSoftware's development capabilities, and will seek to establish a framework that allows the expansion of the scope of its own publishing in the significantly growing global market. In addition to these purposes, for an increase of the number of users in the global market for game IP that FromSoftware creates and develops, FromSoftware decided to conduct a third-party allotment to Sixjoy within the Tencent Group, which has strength in its capabilities to develop and deploy mobile games and other network technologies in the global market, including China. An SIE within the Sony Group, which has strength in its capabilities to deploy IP in games, videos, and various other media in the global market concurrently and separately." End quote. So it looks like FromSoftware is trying to expand itself from being a studio that just makes games to becoming a multimedia giant of legendary status. It seems they want Tencent's help with expanding their experiences beyond console and PC, likely meaning there could be in the future some sort of FromSoftware mobile game, which is not something I ever wanted to say out loud. And they also want the help of Sony, since they have worked in the past and Sony is obviously known for quality in their games. Although, what does this mean for players? Well, Tencent, if you aren't aware, is basically the biggest gaming corporation in the world, with Sony and Microsoft trailing behind it in terms of just how massive Tencent is. It's also a Chinese-owned company that has its fingers in many different pies, having investments in developers like Bungie, who makes Destiny 2, or outright owning other developers like Riot Games, who makes League of Legends. They are also rumored to be wanting a larger stake in companies like Ubisoft, which means if that happens, we're going to have a ton of future open world Tencent-made games. And you thought Ubisoft was greedy with their microtransactions? A Tencent Ubisoft cash shop would be insane. They would probably charge you so you can only jump a certain amount of times in a game session. Anyway, why this concerns me is that Tencent, how do I put this? If Tencent owned FromSoftware, it could radically mutate FromSoft into something Tencent is known for doing. Those things being forced microtransactions and mobile games. Now, of course, this doesn't mean 100% that if Tencent owned FromSoftware that they would force them to make cash shops and mobile spin-offs of their IP, but it's very likely it would happen if they owned them fully. And it's kind of sad that unironically this fan edit of Elden Ring would kind of become the future of that series. Good God, the thought of this possible scenario makes me cringe so hard. And this is where the savior of this scenario comes in the form of Sony and their PlayStation brand. Look, I'm not going to be some fanboy or whatever, but if you want to see how Sony treats FromSoftware, well, we already kind of know. Demon's Souls and Bloodborne are both PlayStation exclusives as of now anyway, but will likely be ported hopefully at some point to PC. Sony is also first and foremost all about making sure their properties have the highest possible quality imaginable for the most part. Games like Ghost of Tsushima, God of War, the list goes on, Sony cares about quality video game experiences. That's why Bloodborne is so good in the first place. It's an example of FromSoftware making a game with the full might and capital of Sony behind them. Sony is also a Japanese company, and well, the Japanese and Chinese have a sort of, let's just say, fragile relationship when it comes to business. I don't think Sony wants a developer of such importance to their brand being in the hands of a company like Tencent that's known for pushing predatory levels of microtransactions to squeeze as much money as humanly possible out of every customer. If FromSoftware were to be bought by Tencent, I don't want to be too doom and gloom, but it would spell the end of FromSoft as we know it. I really don't want to see a FromSoftware game like an Elden Ring 2 where weapons or outfits are locked behind paywalls when they're normally just in the game. A good way to look at it would be if we took the overall expansive library of weapons and spells in Elden Ring as it is right now, but if Tencent owned it, like 60 to 75% of those spells, items, and armors would cost you real money to use. Yeah, that's not a reality I want to experience myself. It sounds like a nightmare if I'm being totally honest. However, it's not all bad and there is hope in this dank, turbulent tunnel we call the gaming industry. The largest shareholder in FromSoft is Kadokawa, which is a Japanese company, and likely due to the already pre-existing very positive relationship between Kadokawa and Sony, their joint shareholdings of the company gives them significantly more say in what happens with FromSoftware. Tencent could push for a cash shop in an Elden Ring sequel, but Sony and Kado could Goten Trunks fuse themselves and use their much more powerful influence to tell Tencent to sit down and shut up, which is a good thing. Although Tencent could still wiggle their influence and get the kind of stuff they want to happen kind of anyway. But to a lesser degree, of course. And likely for the foreseeable future anyway, no FromSoftware game will have anything remotely close to criticizing the Chinese government either. So yay, censorship in my FromSoftware games. What a time to be alive and be a gamer, my friends. And I know people don't like the idea of corporations buying up all the developers, but honestly, when it comes to these kinds of things, Sony is probably the safest haven for this particular situation. I mean, they bought Bungie, which makes Destiny, and they didn't make that game exclusive, they actually gave Bungie complete freedom to do whatever the hell they want. And sure, Sony will profit off of Bungie's successes, but Destiny 2 is still available on everything and there's no exclusive PlayStation content for it or whatever. If Tencent owned Bungie, first off, everything imaginable would be monetized. Things like color shaders and hell, even exotic weapons would likely be thrown behind paywalls. The concept of the old way of making games, and by that I mean making quality over quantity, has largely been lost on the majority of the gaming industry, especially Western-made games, and the entire AAA industry mostly, kind of. It's really companies like Nintendo or Sony that still actually care about delivering premium feature-complete games in today's industry instead of chopping up or ripping off customers because they can, like Tencent for example. I know this video probably sounds very anti-Tencent and pro-Sony, but honestly, in my opinion, you do not want Tencent to own FromSoftware. If they do, you'll get mobile Dark Souls spin-offs and FromSoftware will be reduced to a shadow of its former self. And to be honest, I wouldn't even be surprised if all the top talent at FromSoft would eventually leave and form smaller indie teams in the future if that were to happen. Which would mean we live in a potential future where Miyazaki is no longer in control of the Soulsborne games, which is just not a thing I want to think can happen. but instead IPs like Dark Souls, Elden Ring, or Bloodborne being in the hands of a multimedia juggernaut that doesn't care about quality and only cares about profits and milking their customers is a literal video game nightmare scenario. Imagine dying to a boss and Tencent saying, if you pay us $5, you will be invincible during this fight. Or, oh, you died 10 times today? Well, you ran out of automatic revives. Uh-oh, you either gotta wait 24 hours to play again, or you can slip us $10 to try again. I am actively cringing as I read my script here, guys. Good lord, what the hell? Please God, no, don't let this happen. So I hope that Sony and Kadokawa have some secret emergency meeting of some kind and decide to fuse into one in order to save not only FromSoftware, but ensure the future of video games are still about quality experiences and not monetization and slot machines. There's also rumors that FromSoftware's next big game, which is apparently Armored Core, will also be a PlayStation exclusive at first anyway. This is likely because Sony did contract FromSoftware years ago with making exclusive content for their platform, with Bloodborne being the first of these experiences. And while this may piss off many, we do need to remember that Armored Core was always first a PlayStation-centric game, so yeah. Doesn't mean it won't come to PC. I mean, God of War and so many others have jumped to PC already, so I wouldn't fret too much. But here's hoping Sony and Kadokawa can look beyond the money and save their sovereign right as the protectors of one of the last great game studios of our time. A FromSoftware owned by Sony would only mean amazing things for gamers. And Sony wouldn't push cash shops on an Elden Ring sequel either, or at least I hope not. Nah, they probably wouldn't. Well, no, it's fine, everybody. Everything is fine. Just relax. Everything is mostly fine. Please be fine. Oh god, please be fine. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below about this news and whether you're worried or not. Subscribe to give my life meaning, like the video to help the algorithm, and share the video if you think it deserves it. Thanks to my patrons as always for their undying support, and I'm Endymion. It's like plus 33 outside today, so I'm not gonna go outside. Well, that's a lie actually. I'm getting hungry and that means I have to go buy food. God, I hate the heat. I'll see you in the next one unless Tencent agents barrel roll through my windows and I disappear suddenly. Just joking, Tencent. Please don't kill me. Oh god. Video games, guys. Am I right? Alright. I'm done talking. I'll see you in the next one.